Hello, my name is Samantha Whelan-Kokis. Welcome to my home in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I am a teaching artist for the National Art Centre of Canada, and this is my fourth video in my four-part video series on invoking the imagination through the arts in students of all ages. In today's video, we are going to look at a project I've done several times with United Active Living, where we partner older people with high school students to tell their stories that are related to music of their youth. It's a very powerful story, and it's a wonderful way to invoke the imagination of others. I hope you enjoy. Sharing life stories with music involves partnering high school students with elderly people in our community. In this project, we go in search of a teacher who's looking for opportunities for their high school students to make a difference in the world around them. So far, we've had no problems finding these teachers. They're usually music specialists or they're theater or drama specialists in our community. When we find the teacher, we ask them to provide us with 5 to 7 students who would like this opportunity. And usually students are looking for this. It's good for their resume as they're going into university and just great for community building. Once we find these students, we partner them with senior citizens at one of the community homes that we have. And I've worked on this project so far 3 times and had a lot of success with what it looks like. So let me tell you how we put it together. It is a 4-part meeting. So we meet with the seniors and the high school students 4 times. In the first session, it's basically creating a safe environment. We make sure that everybody feels good about what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be sharing things. In our second session, we partner the high school student with the senior citizen who they're going to be sharing stories with. This kind of feels like a first date, and a lot of them are pretty excited about the second 90-minute session that we do together. Towards the end of that second 90-minute session, we've already picked the songs or the music that we're going to be tying things to, and we're already starting to put together the format and the stories. And the way the format works is we ask for a 2-minute story that ties you to some piece of music in your youth. So for the high school students, that's not very far back in their life. But for the seniors, it's something that sometimes is 60, 70 years into the past. And it's been really wonderful to watch them light up as they think about this memory that ties them to something in their life. We know that one of the last memories to go is our musical memory. And that tie to music is really important to making this project so successful. So at the end of the second session, we're already starting to put together these stories. We ask for 2-minute stories to go with about a 3-minute piece of music. So each group is responsible for about 5 minutes of material that they're going to share at a final presentation. In the third 90-minute meeting, they start to really flesh out their stories and they start to involve each other in the telling of their stories. So sometimes the high school student will tell the story of the senior, and sometimes the senior will tell the story of the high school students. And I found that really enjoyable when that happens. In the fourth 90-minute session, we start getting right into it and we're producing and we're trying to get the show going. And it's kind of a theatrical sharing. Sometimes they just get up and share their story, monologue and share their piece, but sometimes we turn it into a bit of a performance piece, and that's dependent on the group, and they can work with all the other participants to include them into their story if they'd like. By the time the fourth session comes, we're right into it, and it's almost like a dress rehearsal for what we're going to share. This is intentional. We don't take much time to get to this stage so that people can't really think too much about what we're being put into so that they can share their stories fairly freely at the end. And then the fifth session is the performance, where we invite family and friends to come and enjoy. And I will tell you, the 3 times that I've done this project, that's been absolutely amazing and wonderful to witness. Sometimes this is a high school student's first time in an environment that they're not familiar with, performing for people that they don't know. And for these seniors, sometimes it's a time that they're able to share their stories. They haven't been heard in a long time, also to an audience that hasn't heard those stories. So it's quite a special sharing. Some things to think about in this particular project that are a bit of a challenge is that when we walk into this environment, some of the seniors have a hard time hearing. So we've learned very quickly that it's important to bring microphones and speakers to set up equipment. Another challenge is that we really want to make sure as much as possible that the music is live. This is challenging because not everybody is a singer, potentially, in our group. So we locate those people that might be able to sing the songs. And we always use a community musician. So we've hired either a guitar player or a piano player to work with us so that we can do the music that is chosen live. I think that's really important in this particular project because it gives it an energy that it wouldn't have otherwise. Some positive outcomes that have come from this particular project, I'm going to share two stories with you. The first story that I'd like to share was about a woman who was 96 who really vividly remembered this story about her sister who'd been given a ring by this man who was in the military and promised to be married to this man. And then he left to go on to his military experience. And while he was gone, he met another woman. And in these days, people did not have very much money and he couldn't afford to buy a second ring. So he mailed this woman's sister a letter requesting that she return the ring. And there was a song that was tied to this particular thing, and it was called "It's a Sin to Tell a Lie." And so this song that this 96-year-old woman had selected was a pretty powerful song, especially with her story. But she had been partnered with a 17-year-old student who decided to tell his story of going to Auschwitz when he was 16, so just the year before. And he'd actually partnered his with this heavy metal song. It was one of the few times we've used a recording. And what was so magical about this is her song, "It's a Sin to Tell a Lie," actually tied really well with the story that the young man was telling about Auschwitz. And so the discussions the two of them had with each other about this were quite important and quite interesting, and I would say one of the most successful pairings we had. As part of her skit, she wanted to dance. She wanted her sister, so she was acting the part of her sister, to dance with this military man. And of course, this 17-year-old became this military man. And I'll never forget the look on her face because she really became her 17 or 18-year-old sister as she was dancing in the arms of this young man. And this young man just puffed up full of pride as he was dancing with his 96-year-old partner, and he kind of became part of that story as well. And so that's the magic of invoking the imagination in a situation like this. The other story I'd like to share with you was one of the women that we were working with had been a director and a producer in her career, and she had just recently moved into this retirement home. And I think she was missing her career, and her husband, I believed, had just passed. And instead of bringing her into this process as a participant, we asked her to also be the director with myself. So it was very fascinating for me to work on this project with her as an equal partner. And I remember in the final performance, her sitting in the middle in her directorial seat, really proud of the work that her colleagues had done and that these students had done, and how important it was to honor the work that she'd done in her life through this process. So really, to summarize, invoking the imagination and what that entails, is it one person that invokes the imagination? Is it the people who put together the idea of a project that invoke the imagination? Is it the setting that the project happens in that invokes the imagination? Is it the participants in the project that invoke the imagination? And I would probably say it's all of the above. I think it's when we can meld all of these things together. Sometimes it happens with only one of those elements. But when we meld everything together with the arts and the artistry of a teaching artist, I think we create a beautiful situation that does invoke the imagination. And to think at the very end and to summarize everything I've talked about through these 4 videos, is invoking the imagination even important? I mean, that's an important question for me to ask myself. And I think I would say not only is it important, but for me in my career, it is the most important thing. As we move forward into the future and artificial intelligence starts to take a bigger role in everybody's lives and takes more and more jobs, I think imagination is going to become incredibly important. So I challenge you to invoke the imagination of others, maybe through some of these projects that I've talked about or in other ways in your life. And I challenge you to invoke your own imagination. as you look at the world as it could be otherwise. I think that's a beautiful place to be.
Thank you for watching my 4-part video series on invoking the imagination through the arts for students of all ages. I think it's one of the special things that we do as teaching artists, invoking the imaginations of others. And I want to thank you so much for watching my video series. I also invite you to put any feedback or comments or questions in our comment section because we love hearing from you. Bye.